All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Join us in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from tonight and tell us how climate is impacting your life. We're so excited to have this conversation with everyone tonight. So, just some general housekeeping. If you would like to watch with closed captions, make sure you're watching on Facebook. Unfortunately for all of us, YouTube hasn't caught up yet. So, again, if you would like to watch with closed captions, please join us on Facebook. We will be answering questions throughout the night, so please make sure to ask your questions in the chat. But again, let us know where you're coming from tonight, and let us know how climate change has impacted your community. I'm here in Southern California, and we have a longer, more aggressive wildfire season every year. Here in Southern California, most of us have go bags and emergency bags ready to go because we know that during wildfire season, disaster can strike very quickly, and we have to mobilize ourselves and be ready to get on out of there in a moment's notice. So again, let us know how you've been impacted. Let's see, in Durham, North Carolina, our winters have gone away. It's been the hottest and wettest summer I can recall in the past 17 years. That is really awful to hear, and that's really scary. All right. Now, I do want to set some norms in the chat. We are heavy-handed with the ban hammer. So if you are trolling in the chat, if you are spamming the chat, we are going to block your ability to leave comments because we want to leave room for everyone to participate and be part of the conversation. So please make sure to be kind to each other in the chat and don't spam, don't be a troll. We are heavy-handed with the ban hammer. And again, if you are just joining us, you can watch with captions on Facebook. Now, we do have some working agreements. So if you would like to know how we expect our participants to join us in this space, visit our working agreements. Now, let's see how our climate is impacting other parts of the country. Let's see. Weather in the winter is milder and the summer is unpredictable. We have also seen very unpredictable summers here in California too. Southeast Wisconsin had a lot of flooding. We've seen a sharp increase in disastrous flooding around the country. We've seen some wildfires closer to us and more often. Yeah. It's really scary out there. And we know that climate is changing. We know that we are seeing more climate disasters across the country. You had to move from the New Jersey coast for fear of another Superstorm Sandy. Yeah, that is really unfortunate for a lot of families. They're having to leave and move from their long-time homes where their families are rooted and have been established. All right, so thanks again for being part of the conversation. We are going to be talking a lot about this tonight. So I'm going to give y'all just another minute as we get settled in. Let's see, they just canceled the Camino Walk in Spain because it's 109 degrees. That is crazy and really scary to hear. All right, so we have a bunch of you joining us tonight in the chat. We're really excited to have you, and thank you for letting us know how climate is changing in your communities, how climate disaster is impacting your communities as well. So tonight, we are going to be covering a range of topics, but all of it around making billionaires pay. So tonight we are introducing this event, a climate action centered in New York and spread out across the country. On this call, we're going to discuss the ways that the climate crisis is a feminist issue, why we're mobilizing to make billionaires pay, and how you can join us in taking action to stop climate disaster. So make sure to drop your questions in the chat and we will catch them. So now I'm excited to introduce our first guest from our friends at 350, Yanni Rosa.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yanni Rosa. I very much apologize. I cannot be on camera right now. It actually has a lot to do with the floodings in Milwaukee, which is where I'm at. There was severe floodings this weekend. There's been a power outage in my whole neighborhood all day, and then now it's been continuing to rain in and out. So I'm hoping that my basement is safe for now. But that kind of brings us into why we're here in the first place, why 350 wants to work with partners to put this mobilization together. Um, as we all know that there's been a lot of things going on since Trump got in office before then, but things just continue to ramp up and get worse and worse day by day. As for example, what we seen yesterday, DC being taken over. But there's so much going on. For example, like with DC being taken over, and then where I'm from, like we can't even focus on that because a lot of people lost a lot of things in their basements. Their houses are ruined, which that intersects with climate issues and a lot of other issues as well. So we really want to be able to work together in partners and coalitions to be able to build unity and power amongst folks in the climate space. We also know that the climate space does need to be more intersectional with other issues. So that is really our intention here. And then we will have an anchor action. We really want to bring as many people as we can out to New York City. The UN will be meeting there. Shauna, if you want to touch on that later, a little bit more on that, you can. If not, it's okay. But yeah, so it's really a strategic location and to bring as many people together as possible, as well as trying to provide support to any distributed actions that are happening across the US. Really just trying to make things as simple as possible and accessible for folks to be plugged in and represent the issue that feels most relevant to them, knowing that we have a lot of intersectional issues, but knowing that this is really about making billionaires pay because it really trickles down to how they're managing things. And I can't see anyone right now. But is there anything else you'd like me to share or touch on?
I think that's great coverage, Yanni. Thank you so much for adding this context to the conversation. We'll see you later for the Q&A. And now we are really excited to introduce one of our team members, Malikica Elias.
Hey, everybody. Welcome in. Thank you all so much for joining. Really heartbreaking reading this chat and, learning more about how all these issues are impacting you all individually. So why is Women's March involved? I know a lot of times people look at us and they say, okay, reproductive rights, feminism. But as we are starting to hear, the climate crisis is touching all of these different issues, right? So Women's March is participating in this action because we know that climate change is a feminist issue. All around the world, and even right here in our country, it's women and children that tend to bear the brunt of climate change and climate disaster. When a hurricane hits, it's moms and aunties and grandmothers who are sorting out the school pickups and FEMA paperwork. It's also women who often tend to be the domestic workers that stay behind to care for loved ones in facilities and homes when natural disasters strike. It's women who are exposed to higher incidents of sexual violence caused by climate-induced drought that force them to walk longer distances and down dangerous paths to retrieve potable drinking water for their families. We've also seen that when heat waves roll in, pregnant people land in emergency rooms, and smoke from wildfires shut down clinics and reproductive care vanishes practically overnight. There's also climate-induced displacement, which disproportionately impacts women and children. I know someone earlier was saying that they had to leave the New Jersey coast. There's a lot of issues in coastal cities, and women and children tend to bear the brunt of displacement and of just the burden of climate change altogether. So there are countless examples of how climate and gender justice are intertwined. And as the climate worsens, this is an intersection that will only become more illuminated and unavoidable for all of us. And that is why we are showing up at this table and at this action, and why we really need y'all to join us and show out in the streets on September 20th. So thank you. And I am passing it back to Risa.
Thanks, Malika. This is a high impact issue. It is an intersectional issue, and we're really excited to be a part of this effort. So now I'm going to pass it over to Vicki from People's Action Initiative. Thank you so much.
Hey everybody, so great to be with you all this evening, this afternoon. My name is Vicki Kaplan, she, her pronouns. I organize with People's Action Institute, and I'm joining you tonight from my hometown of Los Angeles, California. It is so moving, as Malika said, to read your stories that you're sharing in the chat. And I think it was Arlene shared that it feels like terrifying to leave this world to your grandchildren. My 6-year-old is with her grandparents in the other room while I'm with you all tonight. And actually, you all are giving me hope for my 6-year-old's future, for all of the life that we all have left to live, and for future generations, because we are coming together and we are collectively saying the thing that we've all known and felt, but maybe just like haven't had we just haven't been able to say it out loud together as loud as we need to, and with as many voices as we need to, that it's time that the billionaires pay for the climate disasters that they have created, that they have caused, that are harming our communities. And we're coming together September 20th, all around the country and around the world, for this national and international day of action. I really want to thank Women's March, 350.org, which is an international organization, DRUM, which is a South Asian immigrants' rights organization based out of New York City, and Climate Defenders for your leadership for this day of action and inviting us all to join you. People's Action Institute is a national organization here in the United States, organizing in 30 states with 40 local base building community organizing organizations. So People's Action is a federation of local groups. And several of us were just in a meeting earlier today with our climate organizers from our network of organizations from Ohio to Maine to New York to Wisconsin, starting to plan and strategize around coming together with all of you and many more on September 20th. And on that day, we're going to take our message directly to the corporations, the CEOs, and the billionaires that are profiting while we suffer, right? We're seeing this administration cancel scientific research, shut down emergency response systems, give handouts to fossil fuel billionaires while cutting our healthcare, right? I'm very clear that the cuts to our basic needs, nutrition assistance, housing, healthcare, that money is being taken from us and given to fossil fuel billionaires. So we're coming to say we're taking that money back and showing up by the hundreds of thousands. So look forward to seeing many of you in New York, in Detroit, Michigan, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in Cincinnati, Ohio, in Portland, Maine, here in Southern California, across the Southwest, across the Southeast, all around this country. So thank you for being here. And we'll see you in the streets.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Vicki. Now, we have a lot of actions going on, and we want you to be a part of them. So I'm going to hand it back to Malika to talk more about how you can get involved.
Yes, thank you, Risa. So As y'all heard earlier in the call, our main action is taking place in New York City. If you are in the tri-state area or even within a couple 100 miles of New York City, please consider coming down for our flagship action. We are still working out the details. We'll have more information about the march route and location for the rally in Central Park soon. We'll likely have another mass call in a couple of weeks that will go more in depth about the New York City action specifically. We're also working out some deals with local charter bus services to have discounted options for folks who want to take the bus into the city for the action. So sign up at the link in the banner. Risa, if you can show that link on the screen, please. And also please help spread the word by sharing online on your social channels and in your networks. And also, if you're able to make it and interested in volunteering, we will have plenty of opportunities available, including marshaling and de-escalating, wayfinders, some creative stuff that we need help with, and a bunch of other positions that will be available. So go ahead and take a look at the form, the volunteer form. Risa, if you can also show that on the screen, please. And if you're interested, fill it out and also share with your friends. Thank you. Passing it back to you, Risa.
All right, thanks so much. Now I'm going to pass it over to our friend Shauna here at Women's March, because it's not just happening in New York. If you're not in the tri-state area, we want you to be involved too. This is not just for one part of the country. This is global. This is international. So Shauna is going to tell us how you can get involved in your local community. Ooh, I'm going to add Shauna to the stage.
Thanks, Risa. I want to first speak to what Yanni was kind of throwing my way, which is that the UN is meeting in New York. And that is the basis of the New York action, right? The UN is actually part of multiple things going on in New York in late September. It's the 80th session of the UN General Assembly. They will have high-level general debate. We definitely want the focus of the UN to be on climate change. It's also Climate Week in New York City from September 21st to the 28th. There is a climate summit on the 24th. There's a clean energy forum. So there's multiple issues, multiple things happening in New York City based around climate. So there's a real reason why New York is the hub, if you will, of these actions, right? So we want to make sure that I, living in Pennsylvania, am in driving distance. I will likely be carpooling with some friends. And, if not, we have local buses here that run regularly, trains out of Philadelphia. There's numerous ways to get to New York City. So before I go into the other areas, I want to be sure to say, if you have capacity to get to New York City, get to New York City. That is where we want the most visibility, because it's not just the United States we're fighting for, it's the world. And with the UN there, we have the attention of the world. So let me just be clear on that. If you have capacity to get there that way, try and get there that way. What I do is I am the national distributed organizer for Women's March. And so I am helping to grow this into what we would normally call our sister marches. Right now, we're going to call them solidarity actions, because this is a coalition of folks who are doing this climate justice throwdown. And so what we would like to see folks do is step up in your own community. We do have a map, which the link will be going out, if it's not already out, on the chat at the bottom of the screen. Woohoo! So the map leads you to all actions that are happening, but it also lets you put an action up. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what it means to put an action up. So you can say, I've decided and I'm just going to randomly pick some places. I've decided in Randall, Minnesota, that I am going to hold a climate justice march or rally, or even a vigil or sit-in, storytelling. There's so many options. You can even have folks come together and do a potluck, just have conversation about what's going on. So I want to be clear that this does not have to be a heavy lift where you are doing all of this heavy work to make something happen. You can just get together in your community to talk about what you can do locally to impact climate justice. So you can go ahead and put an action on the map for your city. And what does that mean? That means that when other people go to look for where something's happening, they will see, oh, I'm in this radius. This is the closest action to me. And so then they will join you. You can ask those people for help. You can ask them to come and help you prepare. You will have the ability to email them, to invite folks into community with you, and to build this local on the ground network that we need for folks to do this action and other actions. So it's a fairly easy lift to just get your community together. Now, if you're feeling like maybe this is something that you might be really good at, maybe you want to do a march, maybe you want to rally. Does that mean you have to get a stage and a permit and all of? We have an entire toolkit that we're going to send out to you, and it is going to walk you through that. And not only that, you will have access to email me directly with your questions. So I will be there to help you if you have questions on how permits work. If you need a permit in your community, I can help you with that. If you don't know if you'll need a stage, or you have thoughts on what a sound system might be versus a bullhorn versus just yelling into the void, as some people have done at their actions, to get out the frustration, we can help you with that. So I want you to understand that the more people that do this, the bigger it gets, the more folks show up, and the more attention we get for climate justice. And so I'm not asking you to do it for me. I'm asking you to do it for the world. We already have actions from Jamaica, Sierra Leone, and a few other countries that are being planned and on the map. So I do expect this to grow worldwide. I do expect folks to sign up in their communities that have held actions before. If you just want to help, feel free to reach out and we'll try and connect you with someone in your community. But what we really need folks to do is get that ball rolling, right? And get your action on the map, because then what happens is others come. I'm sure we've all seen the movie. If you build it, they will come. So I just want to tell y'all, if you put it up, they will come. And I'll throw it back to Risa.
All right. Thanks, Shauna. Now we're going to add everybody back to the stage, because we've come to the part of the night where we get to answer your questions. And you've had a lot of really good questions tonight. So welcome everyone back to the stage. Now we have some pretty interesting questions tonight. Let's see. Let me give a quick scroll because we have so many. Now, with so many threats piling up, is there a way we can combat them without overwhelming ourselves? We have some really great people in this chat tonight that we have so many people to answer this question. So I'm just going to kind of tag y'all, because I know that we're all doing this work. Vicki, if you wouldn't mind, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Thanks, Susan. The number one way that I take on and face all the things that we have to take on and face right now without overwhelming myself is to do it with other people, right? To not to never do it alone, which is why I'm here with you all tonight and excited about, about September 20th. This is a chance to be in community, to see one another in our strength and our joy and our spirit. So that, and also getting a good night's sleep. Those are my two things. Do it with other people, and try and eat right and get some rest, and just take each day as it comes. Yeah.
Thanks, Vicki. And Malikica, you also touched on this a bit too, because this isn't just a sense of broader overwhelm. There are a lot of different issues that we're facing. It's a barrage. So how do you approach that? And how do you approach preventing overwhelm when we're talking about facing so many different issues?
Yeah, I like this question a lot because I tend to get overwhelmed a lot myself. But I really lean into a practice of grounding myself. I think when the world is quite literally on fire like it is right now, it is really important to feel safe and grounded in your body, because if you do not feel well within yourself or as well as you can, it is very difficult to help other people. So, second to making sure that you are good, that you've had water, because I know some of y'all be waiting until nighttime to have a sip of water and eat properly. Make sure you are hydrated, make sure you are eating well and getting as many nutrients as you can. It makes a huge difference in what your central nervous system can handle. And then find out what drives you. What is your passion? Is it feminism? Is it women's rights? Is it climate and environmental justice? Is it racial justice? You do not have to be Captain Save everything. Just stick to the thing that you enjoy, that fulfills you, and that you know that you could contribute to best. And sometimes that does not look like being on the front lines and being out on the streets. Sometimes that looks like just plugging into mutual aid. Do you know how to cook? If you know how to cook, you can make food for your community. Do you know how to farm? Farming is one of the best ways that we can, going back to small scale farming, which I will talk about more when I answer Karen's question about animal agriculture. Small scale farming is one of the most amazing ways that we can combat the climate crisis. So what can you offer? Can you offer your community homegrown food? So those are the ways that you can slowly start to think about how you can combat these little pieces. And if everyone does that and everyone does their part, then you can successfully tackle a lot more instead of trying to do everything by yourself.
Thanks, Malika. Now, related to this, we do have a question from Patty Lanford. How can my boss say my concerns about the environment are invalid compared to his concerns about racism and fascism? Doesn't he know they're connected? And I'm going to toss this one to Shauna because I can see your wheels already turning here.
So I think first I want to say there is no hierarchy to the issues that are happening. We know that this is more like a spider web, right? When we talk about the interconnectivity of all of the issues that are happening. So I want to just be clear, the way that you address this with your boss, the way that you best address this is by leaning into the racism and fascism and how it correlates to the climate injustice, right? So we see that communities of color are often nearest to the most polluted areas. I'm just going to use like the most known example of the water situation that we had seen in Michigan, right? The communities of color are the ones that are more deeply impacted. I live near Philadelphia. We see that communities of color are near the factories, near the pollutants, near all of the areas where those issues happen. So there's a direct correlation. So instead of having this issue is more important than this issue, let's talk about why we are allowing both of these to impact, right? And so I would direct folks, instead of arguing that my most important issue is more important than your most important issue, and talk about how they relate to each other, how we can come together. I'm going to lean in a little bit, and I'm sorry, Risa, but there was also a question that was brought up about, is Women's March organizing around mass strike? And I want to lean into that question a little and say that when we talk about the interrelated issues and getting enough numbers of people who are prepared and ready and capable, we need to talk first about mutual aid and protecting people, right? So we need mutual aid networks. And number two, we need people to stop siloing their issues and talk about how we all work together, because it's going to take a very large number of people to pull that off. And when we talk about one issue versus another, that's not going to get us there. It's all of us. And so instead of having that conversation with your boss about why his issue may not prioritize over yours, let's talk about the real depth of why we all need to be in this fight and that fight and the other fight together.
Thanks, Shauna. And so, Yanni, I am going to toss this next question to you. we need to be clear what we want from this action. What actions are we asking for from the billionaires? So in short, can you give a better idea of the demands? Also, you're muted. And if you're unable to come off of mute, that's okay. I will toss it to the rest of the group.
I'm happy to jump in, and Yanni, if you can come back, just interrupt me because we'd love to hear from you. Yes, I love this question. Thank you, Patty. First and foremost, our demands and our message speaks to one another, right? And the masses of people who share our values and our concerns and have been deciding whether or not to join a movement, join an organization, join us in the streets. So first and foremost, speaking to one another and to people who are not yet organized in the same way that you all are organized by being here tonight. Secondly, here are our 3 demands. Number 1, we are going to shut down billionaires and fund our future. Number 2, oh, and I love these are up on the screen as well. Thank you. Number 2, we're going to shut down fascists. We're going to protect migrants and the global majority. And 3, we're going to shut down polluters and defend Mother Earth. And when we say make billionaires pay, New York actually was one of the first states to pass legislation that makes polluters pay for climate disasters that they have caused, for the damage that was created by decisions that they made. That legislation is being introduced in a dozen other states. So there is this growing movement with roots in the climate and environmental justice movements to hold polluters accountable for their actions. So that's one of the ways, and I see Royal has a question as well. That is one of the ways that we make billionaires pay. I mean, I could go on and on. There's legislation at the state level and the federal level that would end subsidies for fossil fuel companies. There's lots of ways that the wealthiest among us can pay their fair share.
Now, we do have another question that is closely
Hello.
related. Hi.
Sorry,
back.
I've been trying to come in. I'm so sorry. And I couldn't communicate to Shauna because it would kick me out of the call. But Vicki, thank you for expressing that. Yeah, and a part of this is also trying to really bring a united front together in masses, especially after the pandemic. I can say that a lot of nonprofit organizations have been drastically impacted by base building. There has not been a lot of in-person meetings. I've come across a lot of local groups, local organizations who have just barely started to meet in person in the last year. But also people don't realize that organizing efforts have changed from pre-pandemic, during pandemic, post-pandemic. So that is something that a lot of people, a lot of us are relearning, and being able to be in a space with one another can hopefully build that motivation to trickle down to systemic change. As Vicki had brought up, like legislation, we're hoping that folks continues the fight after the mobilization, because it will not end there. And it's not going to solve all the problems that specific day as much as I would like for that to happen. But realistically, we need to come together and build that motivation and see how we go back home in our own regions and build that local power and that systemic change to build again that community power and the base building with one another. I also do want to touch a little bit on the first 2 questions. The first one, I forgot, but the second one, I will say that it's not about playing oppression Olympics. And I very much do, Shauna, appreciate what you're saying about environmental racism. And that is why I think it's important for climate justice to understand that these issues intersect with one another and they are not separate, because the ones who are most impacted are Black and Brown communities. have to deal with so much dire environmental racism, whether that has to do with air quality, with the floods, with the water, with everything. So, like Shauna said, instead of trying to say, oh, which issue is worse, it's how do these issues intersect? And okay, so I do remember my first point about, or the first question about combating these issues and not getting overwhelmed. I will say it's not about combating every single issue because that is impossible. It's about being united with one another and understanding that these issues intersect and that folks have expertise in their own issues. But how do we strategically collaborate and partner with one another so it's not all on ourselves? So sorry about not being able to jump in when you ask.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Yanni. And so I think one last question in this general vein. Are there buying protests or something? Haven't protesting corporations in coordinated efforts made them rethink things? And so we know these to be a boycott. So I'm going to toss it to the group and who wants to count it?
So I'm going to be clear. I haven't seen specific boycotts that are related to capitalist buying and climate justice. However, I will say all boycotts that reduce shopping, impact climate justice, and all efforts to reuse, recycle, and reduce are impactful. So I myself have watched the Target boycotts and things like that that have been primarily DEI and racially motivated, right? And taken part in boycotting those, which has led me to do some alternate shopping. I have been doing more thrift shopping, which is reusing, recycling. I've been making sure that I myself am doing those type of purchases, repairing things rather than buying a new item, and trying to really not add to landfills and add to pollution in the ocean and those type of options. So I think, although I haven't seen anything specifically related to this, all boycotts that impact capitalist spending are impactful to environmental and climate justice. And that's just my opinion. So I'd love to hear what others have to say on it.
Well, I see Karen's comment in the chat asking, could the Tesla takedown translate to other billionaires and companies? And I think those are two great examples, the Tesla takedown and the Target boycott earlier this year that were organized mass efforts that did impact the bottom lines of these companies. So certainly we need a multiplicity of strategies working together. So I'm for it, you know. Yeah. And lots of folks have shared that we need to keep up the pressure and stay in solidarity and grow larger, right? In all of these things, in our mobilizations, our marches, in our direct actions, in our community meetings, in our boycotts. So all of this I see as working together.
Awesome. Now we're going to kind of take a little pivot here. And Malikica, you had mentioned this a bit earlier. Industrial animal agriculture emits more greenhouse gas emissions than the entire transportation sector. Is anyone going to address the cow in the room, changing our diets to plant-based?
I love the cow in the room. That's really funny, Karen. And I love this question as someone who watched Food Inc. when I was 16 years old and adopted a vegetarian diet like the same night because I was so horrified by the really nasty industrial agriculture practices. So what Karen is saying is very real. Animal ag is a huge contributor and emits a lot of greenhouse gas every single year. And it's not just greenhouse gas emissions. The industrial ag facilities cause air pollution as well, which harms surrounding communities, causes respiratory illness, even certain cancers. we've been able to see in research over the past few years. You all are probably familiar with like concentrated animal feeding operations, also known as CAFOs. Those are some of the nastiest industrial agriculture sites that companies like Tyson, Purdue, and a lot of those other like really large meat retailers use. And the communities that surround these facilities are almost always communities of color who are being impacted by disproportionately by the environmental injustice that comes from air pollution, water contamination, and so many other issues by just being in close proximity to those facilities. The runoff from those facilities also ends up in local waterways and poisons. Marine life causes things called harmful algal blooms and dead zones, which just completely kill off the fish in the water, and so much more. So what you can do, like Karen is hinting to in this comment, is reducing your consumption of this particular type of meat that comes from industrial agriculture facilities. Yes, eating more plant-based is amazing. I personally have worked on like food campaigns that focus on introducing healthier options into different facilities. At my last organization, we had a climate-friendly food campaign that was focusing on building nutritious and like Meatless Monday type of programs in schools in California. So I think there are a lot of really good initiatives underway trying to encourage people to eat more plant-based and to educate them on the link between harmful meat consumption and climate change. But then if you are going to eat meat, kind of like I was talking about earlier, it's really important to look at things holistically. So you can still eat meat, for instance, grass-fed beef and pasture-raised chickens that are raised particularly on regenerative agriculture farms. Regenerative agriculture farms are small-scale operations. And this is a really amazing way to buy local, to eat healthier. This type of meat is better for your body. It's better for the planet. It's better for the soil because regenerative agriculture nourishes the soil. And what we know from the past couple of decades of research is that soil is a huge carbon sink. So just by being conscious with how you spend your dollars, you can have this sort of like multifaceted impact of better health, of less impact on the climate, of helping to support local farmers who are being bought out by these terrible companies who want to continue spraying our food with pesticide and killing us all. So it's sometimes a very simple tweak, and I encourage you, yes, to eat more plant-based, but find better, healthier sources of meat. And you can always just go into Google and look up grass-fed, or if you're in Maryland, for example, there's a company called Grass-Fed 270 that is an amazing resource for finding local sustainably sourced meat. And just go on Google and look up, where can I find sustainably sourced meat near me? Where are the regenerative agriculture farms near me? So thank you, Karen. I hope that helped address your question a little bit, and I hope folks can do their part in just trying to eat better in general. Risa, you're muted.
Good point. We do have some logistical questions about the mobilization effort. So, are we working with other organizations to put on the September 20th event?
I'm going to bump that to Vicki.
Yes. People's Action is one of those organizations. I heard today that we're up to now 120 organizations that have endorsed the Make Billionaires Pay climate mobilization. So I just want to name again the 4 organizations that are the core team, the core anchors. That's Women's March, of course, 350.org, Drum, Desi's Rising Up and Moving, and Climate Defenders. They are the 4 anchor organizations. And groups like People's Action Institute and 119 others have signed on. And I wonder if we can get in the chat as well the endorsement form. So if you're part of a local organization, a chapter of an organization, please sign on and join us. Anybody want to add anything else to that?
I think I would just link that back to what both I and Yanni had brought up about intersectionality, and that even if climate justice was not your initial inroad into activism, that all of these issues intersect. So if you're fighting racial justice, if you're fighting for disability justice, if you're fighting for any of the other isms and justice issues out there, that you can get in here as well, because there is 100% a direct link from climate to every other issue going on.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Now, Shauna, back to you. How do we find an event locally?
So at first, I'm going to shout out to one of my friends here online. We have Becky online, and Becky is one of our, what I would call, a gold star host, right? Becky throws down with Women's March, and I saw her shout out in the comments. So I just want to point out, Becky, I see you. So what you want to do is you want to go to the link. It is on the screen. It is also on Make Billionaires Pay. I think it's .us. Is that right, Vicki? Make Billionaires Pay.us. It is also on womensmarch.com. And all three of those will take you to our map. The map is where you want to search by your zip code, and it will give you all of the actions closest to you. If you do not see one, remember what I said. You can throw one in there, and you can be the people we're waiting for. We do not have to wait for others to keep moving these forward. So be the people we're waiting for. But that's where you would go and find those actions.
Excellent. Thank you, Shauna. Now, we do also have the question, where do we sign up to help in depth? And Malikica, I'm going to toss this one to you.
Yeah, I think this is a great question, and I wish I knew if you meant New York City or just in general. If you mean to assist with the New York City action, if we can get the volunteer link up in the banner again, that would be great. So you can go to that link and sign up to volunteer. Women's March is also in the process of rolling out a more robust volunteer program that has different opportunities that you can plug into, leadership trainings, getting trained up on different skills, especially as they pertain to our large mobilizations that we have. Like, we just had a de-escalation 101 training. We'll have a de-escalation 102 training eventually as well. So I do not have access to that link right at this moment. I'll try to find it and drop it in here in time, but if not, we can send it in the follow-up email as well.
Excellent. Thank you. And now for the final question of the night. Y'all, don't laugh, but for the last few weeks, I've had heavy feelings of needing to protect Mother Earth. I wonder if anybody else has been feeling this.
Yeah, I love this. I love this. No one's gonna laugh at you. Only people who are disconnected from themselves and their bodies would probably think that this is a little woo-woo and silly. But I think this is a healthy response because everything is interconnected. Trees are alive. I've seen in the chat a lot of people say that they're getting their grounding by going in nature and forest bathing, going on walks, connecting with nature. There's even research that shows how much just a simple 10 to 20-minute walk outside, especially first thing in the morning, no sunscreen on your face, just going outside and walking can do for your nervous system, and can do for your anxiety and your depression. Like, being outside, having access to healthy, clean air and to green walkways is incredible for your general well-being. So I think it's only natural then, when that is being destroyed and when there's such a massive threat from this administration, to roll back decades of environmental progress, for you to feel this instinctual urge to protect Mother Earth. I feel that way too. There have been times that I find myself crying, especially when I was living in New York City, and in the summer of 2023, there was wildfire smoke. People like Risa and other folks from California see this all the time, but me, as like as somebody who grew up on the East Coast my whole life, I'm not used to seeing wildfire smoke. And when I saw that, it hurts. It really hurts to know like this is happening. The earth is suffering. We all have this connection to this earth. And then also thinking about so many generations down the line that have to inherit this mess. So I think keep feeling that way, because it's that sadness and that pain and that empathy, even for Mother Earth, that propels us into action.
Would anyone else like to add on to that?
Yeah, I would like to add, if folks can react in the comments if they're feeling the same way, that would be amazing. I would also add that I'm from Puerto Rico. If anyone know anything about Puerto Rico, it's so, so, so tiny. Most people can't even point it out in the map. But we are so big, and we are so prideful where we come from. And it truly breaks my heart to think that our island can be completely underwater and that my kids, grandkids won't even know what a Puerto Rico is. So that's why this fight is very, very, very personal to me.
Great. All right. So I think that takes us to the end of our night together. Thank you all so much for being part of this conversation, for your incredible questions, your participation, for telling us what's going on in your communities, and most importantly, for signing up to be a part of this incredible event. Find it on the map. Sign up if you're in the New York tri-state area, and we will see you in September. Emails will be sent out to everyone who signed up with all the links from tonight's conversation. So we're looking forward to seeing you in September. Thanks everyone for being part of this conversation, and we will see you next time.